IKEA just launched the cheapest smart home devices on the planet. $6 bulbs, $8 sensors. Everyone is telling you to buy them. I'm telling you to stop, because 5 of these products have problems IKEA doesn't mention on the box, on the website, or in the app. I'm exposing all of them, plus 2 setups that actually work. Let's go. Mistake number 5, buying sensors without a thread border router. This is the trap that catches the most people, and IKEA set it deliberately. You walk into IKEA, you see the MIG-Bet door sensor for $8, the MIG-Spray motion sensor for $10, the Clipbook water leak detector for $10. You pick up 3 of them, you go home, you open the box, you scan the QR code, and nothing happens. The sensor sits there dead because every single battery-powered sensor in IKEA's lineup requires a thread border router to function. Without one, these sensors are expensive paperweights. A thread border router is what connects these low-power devices to your home network. IKEA's Dirigera hub has one built in. That's $109 in the US. So that $8 sensor just became a $117 sensor. That $10 motion detector just became a $119 motion detector. The affordable smart home starting at $8 is actually an affordable smart home starting at $117 if you're starting from zero. Here's what makes this worse. When these devices first launched, IKEA's product pages did not clearly state this requirement. Thousands of people bought sensors thinking they could pair them directly to their phone. You can't. IKEA quietly updated the product listings after complaints started flooding in, but the damage was done. Reddit, Amazon reviews, and smart home forums were already full of people asking why their brand new IKEA sensor won't do anything. Now, here's the part IKEA should be screaming from the rooftops, but isn't. You might already own a thread border router and not even know it. Apple HomePod Mini has one. Apple TV 4K 2022 or later has one. Nest Hub 2nd generation has one. Nest Wi-Fi Pro has one. If you own any of those devices, the IKEA sensors will pair directly without the Dirigera hub. You don't need to spend $109. But IKEA doesn't tell you that on the shelf. They don't print it on the box. They don't mention it in the app. Because IKEA would rather sell you a $109 hub than tell you the HomePod Mini you already own does the same job. That's not an oversight. That's a business decision, and it's costing people money they don't need to spend. Mistake number 4, the Billreza scroll wheel remote. The Billreza scroll wheel remote is $9. It looks beautiful. Smooth scroll wheel for dimming, 3 device groups, magnetic backing so you can stick it to your fridge. IKEA markets it as the simple way to control your entire smart home. On the Dirigera hub, it works perfectly. Smooth scrolling, intuitive dimming, scene switching, exactly what you'd expect. On Google Home, it shows up as 9 separate buttons. The scroll function doesn't work. None of the buttons show up as usable triggers in automations. On Amazon Alexa, same story. Connects, but the scroll functionality is completely gone. Buttons pair, work briefly, then vanish from the network while everything else keeps running. On Apple HomeKit, better, but still not full scroll wheel support. 9to5 Google confirmed this at CES 2026. They tested IKEA's remotes hands-on and reported that Google Home doesn't properly support some of these generic devices just yet, the buttons in particular. They'll connect, but Google doesn't know what to do with them. That's a direct quote from their hands-on review. IKEA certified this remote as a Matter device. Matter supposed to mean works with everything. This remote does not work with everything. It works with one platform properly, IKEA's own Dirigera. Every other major platform treats it like a broken calculator. The dual-button Billreza remote for $8 works fine everywhere. Same magnetic backing, same build quality. It just has 2 buttons instead of a scroll wheel. If you're not running the Dirigera hub, the scroll wheel version is a waste of money. IKEA knows this. They sell both versions side by side on the same shelf, and they don't tell you that one of them barely works on 3 out of 4 major platforms. Mistake number 3, the Alpstuga air quality sensor. The Alpstuga is $30. It measures CO2 levels, PM 2.5 particles, temperature, and humidity, all on one compact display. Competing monitors from other brands cost $60 to $80. At $30, this looks like a steal, until you open the box. First problem, there's no USB-C cable inside, no wall adapter. The Alpstuga requires constant power to function. It's not battery operated, and IKEA ships it without the one thing it needs to turn on. A $30 device that requires a cable to work, and IKEA makes you buy the cable separately. For a first-time smart home buyer, opening that box and realizing you can't even power the device without another trip to the store is a terrible first experience. And IKEA knows exactly what they're doing. They sell the USB cables in the same aisle. Second problem, the data goes almost nowhere. The Alpstuga tracks 4 measurements: CO2, PM2.5, temperature, and humidity. That's impressive hardware for $30, but what can you actually do with that data in the IKEA app? Almost nothing. You can see current readings, you can look at basic history graphs over days and weeks, but you cannot create an automation that says when CO2 rises above 1000 ppm, turn on the smart plug connected to my fan. You cannot set temperature thresholds that trigger actions. You cannot combine air quality data with other sensors. The IKEA app turns a 4-sensor air quality monitor into a fancy thermometer you can glance at. That's it. The hardware is capable of so much more, but the software treats it like decoration. Now pair the Alpstuga with Homey Pro or Home Assistant, and suddenly every reading becomes a trigger. CO2 above 1000, fan turns on. Humidity above 65, dehumidifier activates. Temperature drops below 18, heating adjusts. Same $30 sensor, completely different value. But IKEA doesn't tell you that on the box. They don't tell you it measures air quality. They don't tell you your own app can barely use the data it collects. And they definitely don't tell you you need a $400 Homey Pro to unlock what the sensor was actually built for. If you're finding this useful, hit that subscribe button. We put out smart home videos every week exposing what the brands don't tell you. And drop a comment. Did you already buy any of these products without knowing? I want to hear your story. Alright, let's continue, because it gets worse. Mistake number 2, the Dirigera hub pairing disaster.
The Dirigera hub is the brain of IKEA's smart home. $109. Matter controller, thread border router. It manages every device, runs automations locally, and bridges your old Zigbee gear into the new ecosystem. Without it, the sensors don't work. Without it, the app is useless. IKEA's entire smart home depends on this one white cube. And for months, it couldn't connect its own devices. When IKEA launched the new Matter lineup in January 2026, customer complaints started immediately. Devices would get stuck on checking connectivity to Thread network and never finish pairing. Bulbs would spin in the app and time out. Door sensors would fail 3, 4, 5 times in a row. The IKEA Home Smart app on Google Play and the App Store filled with 1-star reviews from people who couldn't get a single device connected. Notebook Check reported in March 2026 that IKEA pushed firmware update 2.934.0 specifically to improve the stability of the onboarding process for Matter devices. That's corporate language for our hub couldn't do the one thing it's supposed to do. And this wasn't the first fix. The previous update addressed Thread network performance issues and a bug that broke device room assignments. The update before that fixed other pairing problems. 3 firmware updates in 3 months, all addressing the same core issue. Devices won't connect to the hub that's supposed to connect them. Here's what IKEA doesn't tell you in any setup guide. New devices enter pairing mode automatically when you first power them on. That window lasts about 15 minutes. After that, the device silently exits pairing mode. It looks dead. The app can't find it. You think it's broken. It's not. It's just stopped listening. For bulbs, you need to do 6 rapid on-off power cycles to re-enter pairing mode. For sensors and remotes, pull the batteries and hold the pairing button for 10 seconds. IKEA could print 1 sentence on the Quick Start card explaining this. They don't. There's more. IKEA's own buried troubleshooting page recommends putting your phone on 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi during setup because 5 GHz causes roaming issues during pairing. They also recommend keeping devices within a couple of meters of the hub for the initial connection, then moving them to their final location only after a successful pair. None of this is on the box, none of this is in the Quick Start guide. It's buried on a support page that most people will never find. IKEA sold millions of people a $109 hub and then required 3 emergency firmware patches to make it work. And the troubleshooting steps that actually fix most pairing issues? Hidden in a support page instead of printed in the box. IKEA range manager David Ganoth told TechRadar, "People don't want to research standards or ecosystems. They don't care about protocols. They want things to connect and just work." And then his company shipped a hub that didn't just work. The irony writes itself. Mistake number 1. Connecting one device to multiple platforms, multi-admin. This is the biggest mistake, the one that ruins everything, and it's the one that Matter was specifically designed to make possible. Multi-admin is a feature of the Matter standard that lets you connect one smart home device to multiple platforms at the same time. Your IKEA motion sensor connected to Dirigera, Home Assistant, Apple HomeKit, Google Home, and Amazon Alexa, all simultaneously. On paper, this is the entire promise of Matter. One device, every platform, no walls. In practice, it's the single fastest way to make your entire smart home unstable. Here's what's happening across every platform. On Apple HomeKit, devices get stuck on connecting in timeout during pairing. People factory reset everything, try again, same result. Some users gave up, came back 24 hours later without changing anything, and the device paired instantly, suggesting there are internal thread or Matter states in Apple's ecosystem that need time to settle after repeated add and remove attempts. When you add new IKEA devices to Dirigera, they don't always appear in the Apple Home app because HomeKit doesn't refresh the Matter parts list properly. On Amazon Alexa, Bill Racer buttons pair successfully, show up, work for a few minutes, then vanish from the network while everything else keeps running. Adding Dirigera as a Matter bridge to Amazon after it's already joined to another platform throws vague errors because the same Matter code and fabric are being reused across multiple homes. On Google Home, it's the worst. Bill Racer buttons pair but either vanish from automations, reappear after random delays, or stop triggering scenes despite showing as connected. IKEA themselves admitted in a support response that there are ongoing issues on Google's side affecting integration stability. On Home Assistant, devices that are shared from Dirigera via the Matter bridge show up initially but stop sending events after a few minutes. Restarting the Matter server brings them back temporarily, then they freeze again. Older Zigbee devices come through fine. The new Thread devices are the ones that break. On Homey Pro, IKEA devices fail to pair or show up as generic broken shells with no controls unless you install the official IKEA Smart Home app on the Homey. And after Homey firmware update 1.12.10.1, all IKEA Matter lamps became inaccessible. Not just IKEA, Thread devices from Eve, Bosch, and Nuki all experienced the same disconnections. Every platform, every brand, same problem. The more platforms you connect a single device to, the more likely it is that one platform loses track of it while another still sees it. Multi-admin was supposed to be Matter's killer feature. Right now, it's the killer of stable smart homes. IKEA has publicly acknowledged the connectivity problems and says a dedicated team is working with the Connectivity Standards Alliance, Apple, Amazon, and Google to ship firmware fixes. That's the corporate version of "we know it's broken and we're working on it." But in the meantime, millions of people already bought these devices, and millions of people are sitting in their living rooms right now wondering why the smart home they just spent $150 on doesn't work. 5 mistakes. 5 ways IKEA is costing you money, time, and trust. From sensors sold without telling you they need a $109 hub, to a scroll wheel remote that only works on one platform, to an air quality sensor shipped without a power cable that the app can barely use, to a hub that needed 3 emergency firmware patches to make it work, to a multi-platform promise that breaks every setup it touches. That's what IKEA shipped. That's what they charged you for. That's what's sitting in your home right now. Safe setup number 1. The budget starter that actually works. Not everything IKEA makes is a problem. Some of it is genuinely brilliant. You just need to know what to buy. The IKEA Kaiplatz smart bulbs in the dual-button Bill Racer remote. That's your starter kit. The bulbs start at $5 to $6. Full white spectrum, dimmable, 11 socket types. They're dual protocol, Matter over Thread, and Zigbee built into every bulb. And here's the critical part. They pair directly to Apple Home, Google Home, Amazon Alexa, or SmartThings through Matter without any Dirigera hub needed. No Thread border router required. $6. Screw it in, pair it to your phone, done. The dual-button Bill Racer remote is $8. It works on every platform, not just Dirigera, every platform. 2 buttons, magnetic backing, wall mount included. It controls lights reliably on Apple, Google, Amazon, and SmartThings without the scroll wheel problems. A Philips Hue color bulb costs $40. One IKEA color bulb costs under $12. 5 IKEA white spectrum bulbs in a remote cost less than a single Hue bulb. If you want smart lighting that works out of the box with zero drama, this is the setup. No hub, no firmware headaches, no compatibility nightmares. Just lights that respond and a remote that controls them. Start here, build from here. Safe setup number 2. The power user setup that actually delivers what IKEA promises but can't deliver. Buy the IKEA sensors. The Mig Spray motion sensor for $10, the Mig Bet door sensor for $8, the Timmerfloat temperature sensor for $10. The hardware is excellent. In testing, the $10 IKEA motion sensor matched a $40 competitor in speed, accuracy, and reliability. 0 disconnects over 2 weeks. Temperature readings accurate to within half a degree of calibrated sensors costing 4 times as much. The hardware is not the problem. The hardware is genuinely best in class for the price. But don't run them through the IKEA app. Pair them with Homey Pro or Home Assistant. The IKEA app can't do time-based brightness, can't combine sensors, can't do geofencing, can't do presence detection, can't do conditional logic. Homey Pro and Home Assistant can do all of it. Same $10 sensor, same $8 door sensor, completely different capabilities. Pick one platform, pair everything there. Use that platform's skills and integrations to bring in Google, Alexa, or Apple as voice extensions, not as primary controllers. Don't use multi-admin to connect devices to multiple platforms directly. That's where everything breaks. IKEA built the best smart home hardware at the lowest price on the most open standard in the market. Then they shipped software that can't use it, documentation that doesn't explain it, and firmware that couldn't connect it. The hardware deserves better, and now you know exactly how to give it a better brain. 5 mistakes. 5 ways IKEA is costing you money you don't need to spend. Now you know what to avoid and what actually works.